this is what we've always wanted. We've never wanted to just be the best because we had the best. We want the competition.
And now we knock out. Amidst all the chaos and the worry and this moment of challenge for the United States, even our coach Vlatko Andonovski said in his last press conference that we have, quote, played crap. Know this, it could be worse. We could be Brazilian or German. We have life. And ahead of the massive round of 16 clash against dread rival Sweden, essentially a Scando version of the Monstars from Space Jam, Sunday night, 5 a.m. Eastern Time. And yes, we'll Twitch it. But first, to my guest, to break all of this down. And if the United States were the Chicago Bulls, and we are going for the three-peat, she's the equivalent of the Michael Jordan of human goodness, a woman who's won the World Cup twice, become captain of the team, seen it all, done it all. An injury on the cusp of the tournament prevented her cruelly from playing in her fourth World Cup. Let's just say how we've missed her. What is incredible about her is the immense levels of joy and nourishment that she provides to all who listen to her. It's an incredible delight to welcome to direct from Down Under, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Oh, it's the inimitable Becky Sauerbrunn.
Raj, another wonderful intro, really. I'm like blushing over here again.
It's not hard. It's not hard. It's like being asked to paint one of the world's great landscape scenes, to be candid. But Becky, you've seen more of me this past 2 weeks than government health warnings actually advise. You, me, Sam Lewis have been live twitching the American games together, which for me is a thing of wonder. It's like watching Wimbledon sat between the two Williams sisters. But tell us, to the extent that you're able to find the words, what's it been like for you, this act of watching the World Cup, watching it, not playing?
It's really strange. I will have to say it's very interesting to be apart from it for the first time in over a decade. And initially, I thought it was going to be extremely difficult to even watch any of the games, specifically the women's national team play. But I think, honestly, watching it with you, Raj, and with Sam, and Sam obviously also going through an injury, and just having her compassion and someone to kind of lament this whole thing, this whole journey with, has actually been really cathartic and soothing. And I've enjoyed watching our team play. And I'm so excited that I'm at a place where I can say that and love watching and be such a fan and just fangirl out for this group.
Becky, this World Cup, big picture, has been a madness. Germany out, Brazil out, Canada out, 5 of the top 20 ranked sides out in the group stages when you throw in China and Italy, and the supposed smaller teams. Morocco, first Arab nation ever to qualify for the knockout round. 2 other African teams, South Africa and Nigeria roaring. Colombia ferocious. Jamaica fearless. We saw Portugal just audacious against the United States. This World Cup really does feel like a turning point for the entire tournament, one in which it becomes a truly non-hierarchical gauntlet in which anything can happen and so many teams can legit win. This is does it feel to you like a new world order?
It feels extremely new. And I love it because it's really just a reflection of where the women's game is going. You show a little bit of investment. You show domestic leagues growing and being more stable. You see a lot of these players going and playing in different leagues. And you just get to see a return of that investment. And I love that these teams are surprising us and that these players are surprising us. And this is how it's supposed to be. So it's so great that this is the first World Cup where it's happening. Like, it's all happening now.
Let's get into the United States. The group stage is over. And for the first time ever, we won just one game in group play. There's few Americans in our nation's history who know the World Cup experience better than you. It is a journey. What have you seen? What have you witnessed?
I have witnessed a group that advanced, first and foremost, which is, as we've already talked about, in and of itself, a huge accomplishment. And so let's make sure that we are appreciating that we did make it into the knockout stages, whereas a lot of these teams, like you said, have not. So we did the job that we needed to do to check the first box. Second box, we got to win this game against Sweden. Okay. So what I've seen from this group is a group that is, I think, struggling to find a place to be their best selves. And that can be because of so many things. It could be nerves, it could be tactics, it could be the opposition and what they're presenting to us. So what I'm looking forward to, and I believe we are going to find soon, is a group that is finding themselves and a place where they are playing with assertiveness and bravery and maybe with a little bit more joy. And if we get those things, these kind of like intangibles, I think this team is going to soar. I think we're just a few clicks away from it all coming together.
There was a really interesting piece in the LA Times by Kevin Baxter where he wrote about the code of this team, the team culture, almost the DNA of leadership and winning that's passed down, as he told it, from one generation to another, from Christine Lilly to Megan Rapinoe, from Abby Wambach. Alex Morgan talked about inheriting from her. Ali Wagner described it as, quote, a code of excellence and, more importantly, team above self that we follow with the national team. And that part of that code has always been grit and perseverance and just more than almost any team I've seen in sports, resilience under pressure. You've experienced that from the inside. It's a real thing, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, all of that plus more. And it very much has been passed down from generation to generation. The difficulties of being on this team, both on the field and off the field, these are all things that we have learned from those that came before us. And Christine Lilly actually is one of the players that, as she was phasing out of the national team, said something during one of our most difficult moments as a national team. We did not qualify for the 2011 World Cup, and we had to go into this European playoff with Italy. And we were speaking after the game that we had lost to Mexico. That meant we didn't automatically qualify. And she said that I felt like I was on an island during that game. I felt alone and I felt isolated. And that should never be a feeling that any of us feels on the field. And that is something that we absolutely can control and is in our control. And I'm just sitting there and I just watched this game happen. I was on the bench. I saw Abby get her face basically stapled back together. And I'm listening to Christine Lilly, who's someone I've admired for years, say this. And it just resonated that this feeling that we're feeling right now is unacceptable and that we can make sure we never feel this feeling again. And that is something that I have kept with me and have tried my absolute utmost to never allow happen with this team, is to never feel isolated and alone. And to me, watching that game against Portugal and seeing the players come together after, you saw Kelly bring the group together and she was fiery. And I'm sure what she was saying was like, guys, buck up. Like, we just did what we needed to do. We just got to the next round. Why are our heads back? You kind of saw some people who looked a little shocked by what had just happened. And for her to come to bring the group together to say that, to see Alex and Pino and Crystal celebrating the advancement, I love seeing that. That, like, I would, if I'm a young player who just kind of like, what just happened to me? If I see my veteran players celebrating, I'm like, oh, we're fine. We're good. Like, I'm going to take my cues from them. If they're acting like this, things are going to be okay. And so when I think about the relentlessness and getting through the tough times, like, we just saw that. And we saw this group sticking together through it. And that's what this team has always been about.
There is one meta aspect that I've been thinking about, about this United States era of dominancy. It's really been propelled by the built-in advantage of Title IX, which no other nation has. It's a well-told piece of law. We had athletic supremacy, and we had mental supremacy, this grit, this determination, this just sense of our own invincibility. But we've entered, and we've seen it at this new World Cup, a new tactical era of deeply sophisticated possession. Has that tactical era almost erased or negated our physical and mental edges?
I have always been of the mind that the ball will always move faster than the player. And so tactics for me and technique to actually do the tactics will always supersede any sort of physical superiority. And maybe that's just me trying to have some like self-perseverance because, I've never been a physically superior player. But I do believe that tactics and angles and creating overloads and negating dangerous spaces will always beat out any sort of individual talent or physical superiority. So the better the tactics, I do think will always supersede just plain put your head down and work super hard.
I went on CBS Morning yesterday, and Gayle King brought it up, the amazing Gayle King. We were talking about how women's football is just a lightning rod conversation in this nation. Our players they're not just playing their opponents. They're not just trying to, walk this World Cup journey. They are in the crosshairs of a culture war. But I do fear that there'll be almost like a 4-year delayed whiplash to that if something goes wrong in the next game or the game after. And it's a surreal thing to say, but we're living in America where there's undoubtedly an element of this nation who are actually rooting against this United States team. It's unfathomable to me. But this team represents our nation, but there is an element who want this team to fail. And I fear, Becky, what will happen to these footballers in that moment if they do. Do you?
Yeah, the team has always been so polarizing, and it became even more obvious to the world, 4 years ago when you were talking about Megan Rapinoe and the then president going back and forth. And it worries me. I also know and trust these players. And I think within the team, we've always had such a level of trust to take care of on-field business, but also your off-field business. And we've come together as a team and have asked each other to trust that we can come together and make real change or try to make real change by standing up for things. And in doing that, yeah, we have put ourselves in the crosshairs of those that think we should just shut up and dribble. And for some players, they don't have the energy or the mental capacity to want to do those off-field things. And there are those on the team that do, because we know that we are gifted this amazing platform and we have a responsibility and an opportunity to make the most of that platform while we have it. And so in doing so, if that puts us in the crosshairs and makes us polarizing, then fine, because we feel like we're actually on the right side of history doing things that really matter. And if people don't understand that or think it's the wrong thing, it's your opinion. But we're going to keep doing what we're doing because we truly feel like what we're doing is affecting change, and good change at that.
Godspeed to better days ahead in that regard. And from the dark stuff, we've got a football game to play against Sweden, who are our eternal nemesis, a rested Sweden who gave most of their best players a break in the final group stage game, still won 2-0 over Argentina, which meant that Sweden, strong, fast, physical, finished top of their group, winning all 3 games, scoring 9, conceding just 1. It's got to be said, the US's perpetual bogey team is back. And you've played them, Becky, last 2 Olympics and lost. You're on the field in both of those. They also beat us in the 2011 World Cup. Tell us about this Swedish team and what you expect from them.
If they play us the way that they have, they are going to basically isolate our center backs and make one of them basically have the ball and have to set play from the back line. And then everyone else is going to be in between. Basically, like, you can play it there, but I'm going to press really hard. You can play it long, but we're going to battle in the air because we're just as tall as you. And so it can be kind of a frightening, because I've been that center back that has had the ball for the duration of the game. And it's kind of scary.
What's that like?
Oh, it is scary. You kind of like, why am I a center back and why do I have possession of the ball all this time? If I play there, I'm just passing on pressure. Like, I don't want to do that. And so to me, it's about making the right decisions at the right time. It's about movement off the ball. And a big thing is it's going to be second balls, because Sweden's going to want to make it about second balls. And they're going to want to invite the long ball, and then we're going to battle, and it's going to be who picks up that second ball. And we have struggled with that in the past. And the games that we have done very well against Sweden, we have read the second ball. We put ourselves in good places around the field. And we've also negated what makes them great. And they are great at making channel runs, inside-out runs from their attackers or their midfielders. So our back line, knowing how to defend the channel, especially as our outside backs get higher, I think is going to be important because Sweden thrives off crosses. They thrive off near post crosses. They thrive off cutback crosses. And so defensively, making sure that our back line is between the posts, goal post on crosses, so that we're taking up the right spaces, making sure that our trailing midfielders are getting back into a place where they can take care of that cutback ball around the PK spot. To me, like that, those moments are going to be key to winning this game.
Becky, give us something, anything, one thing that will make us feel confident and optimistic. What makes you feel the best vibes as you approach Sunday morning? Becky Sauerbrunn.
I just go back to all the times that we have been in tough situations where, you know, we've been down a goal against Brazil in the quarterfinal of 2011, or I gave up a goal against Spain in the quarters of 2019. Like I made the biggest mistake of my career in that game. And what happened? Megan Rapinoe saved my ass. And that's what gives me hope going into these kind of matches, is that this team is going to watch each other's back. And it doesn't matter if one person makes a mistake, we go down a goal, we go down 2 goals. Like this team is going to fight and we're going to cover for each other. And we've got the players that can do amazing things at amazing times. And until that whistle blows, we've always got a chance.
God willing, Godspeed. It does need to be acknowledged as we finish what I said up top. It could always be worse. We could be eliminated. We could be German. We could be Brazilian. Brazil, I'm actually old enough to remember the Brazilian smashing Panama 4-0 and Germany doing Morocco 6-0. And it's seeming like very little could stop them both from winning it all. Now they're both out in the group stage. And I was incredibly moved to witness moments after a team was shocked when they were eliminated against Jamaica, the incredible Jamaica, watching 6-time World Cup ace, the inimitable Marta, who you know well, have the class to hug Jamaica's star attacker, Bunny Shaw. What emotions did you experience watching this incredible moment?
I think it's just absolutely beautiful. And I think Marta is, like, I don't throw the word legend around very easily, and Marta is absolutely a legend, and it's because of what she's done for the game. And she could have made that moment about herself, you know, it being her last World Cup, her last moments on this stage. And instead of doing that, she's like, hey, I'm going to very visually pass this baton on to Bunny, this next like up and coming star, not even up and coming. She is a star. Bunny's a star, but being like, hey, I've pushed this game to this level and now it's on you, and you've had a great start, and this is your ride now, your journey. And so like, leave it better than you found it, like I did. And it's a beautiful moment. It really is. And I think through this tournament, we're probably going to see more of those moments where you see those, you know, Megan Rapinoe's, the Martas, the Christine Sinclairs, like passing on that torch to that next generation.
It is a beautiful way to finish, Becky, because it's not just a passing of the torch moment. It's also a moment of explosive transformation, because the big ethos of this World Cup so far, the biggest takeaway for me anyway, is that this World Cup was meant to be about teams closing the gap with the United States. And we thought when we talked about that, there was like the Western European teams, right? We thought it was the France, the Netherlands, England, Spain. But no, this World Cup has been about the Jamaicas, the Haitis, South Africa, Colombia, Morocco, Portugal, magnificent football all across the globe. And when you project that forward, next World Cup, the World Cup after, the immense level of competition the women's game will witness. From an American perspective, I've got to say, gulp. You know, nothing is going to be a given again. But as a lover of the game, there are incredible days. There are incredible dreams that await us all, right?
I am so stoked that we are at a place where this is what it's like. Like this, I mean, honestly, this is what we've always wanted. we've never wanted to just be the best because we had the best. We want the competition. We want to know that other federations are taking care of their women's teams, that there are leagues, that there are opportunities for any woman that wants to play the game to be able to play the game. And if the result is that countries are catching up with us, great, because that means we are all going in the right direction. And I am so pleased and feel so blessed to be a part of the game where we're actually at this inflection point, because it means like the work that we have been doing has been working. And that's such an amazing accomplishment.
So much work done, so much work still to do, so much progress, so much more progress to come. But I want to raise my Bud Light to you, Becky. You really are an inimitable life force. To you, with love, with wishes for health, with wishes just for human goodness. Thank you.
Thanks, Raj.
Courage. Listen to the full version of this podcast and all our podcasts wherever you get your pods. But first, subscribe here for more Men in Blazers videos. And courage.